Imagine waking up to discover your entire livelihood is suddenly worth 25% less overnight. For Canadian farmers, this uncertainty keeps repeating. Is it finally happening, or do we have another 30 days? We've been teetering here, back and forth between what is happening with Canada, what is happening with US tariffs, what is going on with the tension here, and where do we stand? I want to talk about how it's impacting Western Canadian farmers. We have an update tonight as I'm recording that some agriculture products will be carved out of the tariffs. What they are, I don't know. But joining me tonight, I have Nathan Kuhn. Nathan is a reoccurring guest on the What Their Futures podcast and a fantastic public speaker. If you are looking for someone to speak at your next event, Nathan Kuhn can do a bang-up job talking about his experiences with crop marketing, some of the skills and challenges he's faced. So let's get into it here, episode 66 of the What the Futures podcast. Hey folks, welcome to the What the Futures podcast, your quick guide to better farming decisions. All right, folks, welcome into episode 66 of the What the Futures podcast. Of course, recorded in the UPL studio. I'm in not renovations, but I'm trying to change things up in the background. It's a work in progress here. I'm getting there. I got to get the TV back up, but we're making some changes, cleaning things up here a little bit. Of course, UPL, a sponsor of the SJHL playoffs, which are right around the corner. We're in the month of March here. It's playoff hockey. Melfort Mustangs, top of the league, Are they going to repeat as champions here in 2025? Maybe I jinxed them. Side note, I once won the 50-50 at a Melfort Mustangs hockey game. My biggest ever winnings, any winnings in my life, was at that hockey game. I think I won like $1,100 or something crazy. So that was big money for university students. So I've got Nathan Kuhn here joining me. I want to get into it right away with Nathan. Tariffs are on everyone's minds. It's been a little bit stressful. We're going to talk about it here with Nathan, reoccurring guest out of Unity, Saskatchewan. When we're done, stick around though. I want to talk about crop marketing for you. So let's get Nathan's perspective. Let's see what's going on his farm with all the tariff news. And then stick around because I've got some crop marketing stuff for you as well. Let's get into it here with Nathan. Tariffs are like 2 days old now, right? We're recording this on Wednesday, March 5th. Tuesday, tariffs started. You've been on the show before. You farm in Saskatchewan, just outside Unity, Saskatchewan. Anything changed in your life over the last 48 hours on the farm side?
I think probably more than anything is I've looked at my phone less because snip, snap, snip, snap. I mean, tariffs on, tariffs off. It was a little bit too much banter for my liking. So no, actually, if anything, we got quieter. I mean, we'd had the discussion as a farm, about these tariffs and what could happen. And truth is, none of us are overly concerned about the tariffs per se, but the duration is concerning. Yeah. So, I don't like to worry too much about today, but what's going to be happening come May 12th when I'm trying to market a canola for this upcoming fall.
Yeah, that's what makes it tricky, right? I said way back when the tariffs were supposed to start January 20th or 21st, I said, just park it for a week. Like, just park it. Don't do big decisions for at least a week, and park it. But it's tough, right? It's tough when you see some of these markets. I don't know what the heck's going on with the wheat market, to be honest. It's gone a little too far for my liking, but it's tough when you see these markets pulling back. So, yeah.
Oh, and I absolutely agree. But I mean, that's the wheat market is actually just a fantastic example of this kind of volatility can create opportunity if you know what you're looking for. I mean, just today we were taking a look at our break even on wheat and what we need in order to be profitable on our farm. And we actually turned around and did a bunch of future strategies because we don't believe our cash price can necessarily make us a bunch of money. But in this downturn, if a guy could grab another 75 cents or $1, all of a sudden wheat is profitable again.
Mm-hmm. Crop marketing is 24/7, 365. And, you talk about the downturn in wheat. I was looking at the wheat charts here as well the last couple days. Kansas City specifically, just looking at where support is and the day of the year, it's early March. What's ahead of us here for a growing season. Yeah, you're going to have to, you might have to work pretty hard to get to break even, but looking at these scenarios, trying to add value when it makes sense, when it looks like it's got a chance to do that. 2025, I like that. So can I ask, is that conversation you had with you and your dad and brother on the farm, or is that something that you looped in your futures broker, or they reached out, or how did you guys come to that discussion? Where did that come around?
Well, I mean, a lot of it takes place on the farm. I mean, we try to make sure we keep a really close eye on those break evens. And when you're doing your own personal crop rankings and you're laying them out and you're saying, why are we growing wheat? Because liking growing wheat is not a financial plan. So we knew we had to do something. So then it was a team effort too, to go to the brokerage and make sure that, my guy knew kind of what our goals were. We were like, hey, we want to be able to add, our goal is $1.25. If we can add $1.25 on top, we can turn this into something profitable. So
yeah,
it was a real communication piece, and continues to be, obviously. It hasn't got there yet, but letting them know what our goal was. And then, the interesting part about our farm is we all have different risk tolerances and ways that we like to operate. So by knowing kind of, all three of us pretty intimately and how we want to do things and how we want to execute, he kind of had a plan in the back of his head. So I mean, specifically when we reached those new lows in KC, it was like, well, now it's time to maybe put one of these plans into action and get things going. Yeah.
Start building towards that $1.25, right? The time is now.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think for 2025 too, what I've had to kind of shift my mentality on is it's about base hits. I'm not saying I'm going to try to make $1.25 on the very first move here, but we need to make, just make good decisions and basically base hit our way to that $1.25. I don't think it's going to come all in one shot this year anyway.
Yeah, I have, the goal on the farm, basically to sell, $6 million worth of crop some way, somehow, right? $6 million we got to generate $6 million. And, we're going to grow X amount of bushels. We're going to have whatever average price on that. Can't insure $6 million right now. Been trying to get $6 million worth of insurance coverage. Can't get that figured out. But, just getting to that goal, setting that goal, that's a number that's on the whiteboard, and looking at all sorts of ways to generate that. So, but we also have to put on here, it's a great day when you're out in the field, the bushels are coming in, you're harvesting wheat. It's a good harvest day, right? Like Susan Stroud didn't believe me a couple of weeks ago, but it's a fun day when the carts rolling and bags are out and combines are just cruising, right? It's a good day.
Oh, a good day. And that mid-August there, when everything's just starting to come in and that green's disappearing, you get that little bit of a wind over the field. I mean, yeah, it's there's something nostalgic about growing wheat. And even if you're standing there looking at it saying, you're not going to make me any money, but boy, is this fun. It's kind of like being a cattle farmer for the last decade up until the last few years.
Yeah. For the love of it. So have you guys done any serious discussions about changing your crop plan at all? Have any acres come in or out of the conversation with the latest on tariffs? What are you guys thinking on the acre side?
Well, not so much on the tariff side, but I mean, just basically coming into fall and going into our winter planning, we definitely diversified a lot more, as I'm sure many farms across Western Canada did. We changed our rotation up to include more specialty crops to try to basically make that bottom line look a little better, because to do the old a third thing, if you're like us growing hard red and yellow peas, it was just it just wasn't penciling out. So the tariffs things shouldn't change our acres drastically. But again, it comes down to a duration thing too.
Is that, you don't have to say the crop, but is that one crop that you were thinking about doing a little bit of? Is that still slated? That brand new one? Yeah.
That brand new one's still slated. Well, we've already mentally prepared for taking our yellow mustard crop and putting in the bins until our children are graduated or
all right,
able to haul it to town on their own.
There you go. All right. And I know your kids are young, so there'll be a few birthdays there. All right. You got a great group of young producers, active producers in the Unity area. I know you're not big on coffee shop, sitting in the coffee shop, but I know, you're playing rec hockey, you're at the rink, seeing the farmers, seeing your buddies every week. You're, seeing everyone around town, you're messaging. Any talk amongst the group with regards to tariffs? Is everyone just kind of doing the same as you, or just kind of putting the phone away for now? Or has the group been a little bit more tense in those conversations?
Oh no, it's been pretty intense. Actually, last night's rec hockey game of course, at the start, the tariffs were on, and then there was an announcement at halftime that they were back off again. And by the time we got off the ice, they were back on again. And you got two ranchers on either side of the room arguing whether this is going to affect them or not going to affect them, and asking me an opinion. And I said, I can't possibly read fast enough to form an opinion on these tariffs these days.
Yeah. I got a call from, I talked to a lot of people this week, but I got a call from, even just a few like industry people. And, it's interesting to hear the tone. It's interesting to where the conversations go. Yeah. It's a little bit more stressful out there for a lot of folks, and just out of our control, and changes, as we blink, it changes again. So, just one of those things. But I noticed a little more tension in the conversations, and I don't want to say worry, but it did come creep into a few convos as well. So,
well, and definitely, and I mean, this tariff thing is a very large thing to worry about it. I mean, it's relatively out of my control, so I like to mentally prepare for it like that. But I mean, we've had these conversations too of change, while sometimes very difficult. We're heavily reliant on a neighbor to the south that takes all this canola oil. That was not the case 10 years ago. I mean, if you really want to take a look at trade flows, there could be something good come out of this, and maybe we make some new trade partners and diversify and become better because of it. I mean, maybe that's just an optimist looking at it, but I would hope that something good comes out of it one day.
Well, markets, they do sort themselves out, and it doesn't mean that there isn't any pain. Well, that happens. Quite often there is pain. But it's interesting, right? Because you go and you're supposed to create domestic demand. You're supposed to process in your own country. And we're like doing all the right things. Jobs, across the prairies, value add, good for the economy, processing this at home, relying less on seed exports to China. And then we have this, right? So it's like, we're trying to do the right things, but stuff like this does happen from time to time. I want to ask as well, with all the uncertainty, is there anything, we got the 25 crop ahead of us shortly, but are you guys looking towards changing any strategies up for 2026?
again, we're starting that planning phase, especially my brother and I, and we are right now historically undersold from what we usually are.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the 2026 plan goes, is I think once we see these seasonals take over, kind of see that winter wheat come out of dormancy and see that May, June rally happen, even in the oil seeds, I think we'll be forward contracting more into 2026 just to get some certainty, because it's been too many years of tightness. And if we can secure those long range profits, I think we're going to be looking at it. Yeah. And otherwise, it comes down to this duration thing. I mean, we're Saskatchewan farmers. We like growing wheat and canola, and I mean, we'll diversify if we have to. But if we can get back to what we know, we'd sure like to.
Yeah, I mentioned that yesterday, the LunchBox crew about marketing. 3 crop years, we got to tidy up a little. What's left of 24. We got to be active in 25, and then not to sleep on 26, because I think Kansas wheat, when I was looking at it for a CPS grower or a low protein CP plus grower across the prairies, like there was about a 60-cent carry there until the fall of 2026. And we're 4 weeks away, 6 weeks away, maybe less from being able to contract some of that. So, all of a sudden you get a rally here of 50 cents or whatever. You start looking at some of those numbers for next year, and like if profitability is there, go grab some of that certainty for sure. So cool.
Well, you know what? Especially as somebody in a unique position as you, what's your concerns? What's your big hitter for your farm's 2025 growing season?
So I just kind of go back to like the discipline on making, sales when break even and profits when they present themselves. So like when those opportunities are there, figure out how to be disciplined, and then figure out how to continue to participate. If I am that, bullish in nature for whatever reason, go lock down the profit or the break-even scenario, and then take a little less risk and go and play in what could be, a more bullish market. But just make sure not to lose sight of that discipline. The other day, I'll be honest, I was my little guy woke up at 3 a.m, and by the time I got him settled down, it was like 3:30, and I was like, I'll just have a sip of water, go to the bathroom real quick, and check Twitter. Well, I definitely shouldn't have checked Twitter, because I'm, again, trying to find the latest update. I'm like, all right, well, let's scroll here a bit and try to find this thing. But it's a little bit nerve-wracking, and just to park that, not to worry about that, because it's out of my control. And even in years where you get this crap that comes down, there's still a market that's going to rally for whatever reason, and of course go lower. But it doesn't just go down forever. There are recovery rallies. There are reasons, weather rallies. There's fundamental things that happen. There's technical signals out there, and just to remember that it doesn't go down forever, and not to stress too much about it. So that might be a simple way to look at it. But yeah, I would say, our conversation from earlier about the wheat market, I'm staring down, diesel prices here at, 92 cents tonight. These were a $1.18, a $1.20 not long ago. I'm not saying that saving 25 cents a liter on diesel is going to save your profitability, but just keeping an eye on what diesel prices are doing, and making sure that we do a smart buy on diesel. Making sure that we do a smart buy on fertilizer whenever that is, later this spring or summer for next year. Just focusing on those little decisions that will hopefully add up to something meaningful at the end of the year.
You know, I think it's so great that you brought that up, because I had a conversation with, we'll call a younger farmer than I am, not to date myself, but I had commented that there's some ways to maybe get fuel a little cheaper, and it's perhaps time to wait. And he said, well, you know, on my farm, if I save 10 cents a liter on fuel, you know, it doesn't really affect me that much. And I had to have the conversation with him of, you're right. I mean, the savings are relatively, they're not going to pay off your half ton for you. But the fact is, when you start to look for those opportunities, no matter how small, you begin to look for them in everything that you're doing. And 10 of those small opportunities now may amount to something that is substantial to you and your farm. So don't give up those pennies. I mean, it's not about being cheap. It's just about making the right decision at the right time, and you know, taking your chance when you have the opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. And that is the environment we're in right now. And, you know, at the end of the year, when you look at everything and you start to put some of these decisions together, review some of the decisions you've made, and the farms aren't small, you know, anymore. There's millions of dollars at stake to have an impact. Again, I need to generate $6 million. We'll say $6 million in 25. Well, if I can buy some fuel a little cheaper, buy some fertilizer a little bit cheaper, whatever it is, maybe that number turns into 5.7 next year or something, right? And just becomes a little bit easier to hit. So, all right, Nathan, anything else for me?
Oh man, no, just I guess if you want to look into your crystal ball, is this the technical turnaround we were anticipating in canola? And are we headed to that 709 level come next 6 weeks here?
I need another, at least one more day here. I like the turnaround on wheat. I like the turnaround on soybeans. You think that would all be related to canola? We're up $6. Like, I'll tell you a funny story, man. Like, tariffs hit on Tuesday, right? Tariffs hit on Tuesday. Yeah. Like, this is how crazy and how criminal crop marketing is. I am panicking to get out of my canola puts, right? It is panic city that I've got these canola puts that I bought as a safety hedge earlier before the first tariffs. I paid a significant premium for them. And I am sitting there saying, man, if you could go down like another $10, like, I'm going to get out of this, pay my commission and be even money and live to set a floor at a higher value at some point this spring. I'm sitting there like, I got to get out of these darn puts. I got to get out of these puts. Why aren't we going closer to limit down? Like, that's how messed up crop marketing is sometimes, Nathan, right? And so as I'm sitting there, I'm like, you can only announce 25% tariffs once. We did it. And now this market is just not going as far down as I thought it might. And I got to get out of these puts at like a small loss now. That's what I have to do because I know I'm going to establish a floor at a higher value. So yeah, but we're up $6. Yeah, if we have another good close here by the time we get to Thursday, by the time people listen to this podcast, maybe the tide has turned here for us.
And yeah, further to that, I feel your pain because I jumped on the initial tariff scares and got short and lost a little bit. And then this time, nope, the tariffs are actually on. And I'm sitting here saying, I'm just watching. I'm just a spectator at this point. I'm saying, well, we got to limit down. We have to limit down. Right? Right?
Yeah.
And no, we do not. That's because it's all muted the second time around. Nobody believes anything the guy says anymore.
Yeah. And that was a positive sign. Like I talked to, a couple farms again, trying to reduce the stress level a little bit, but I'm like, we're saying that our canola oil to the US is going to be tariffed to 25% and we are not limit down. Like something.
We're pretty comfortable that we're short or that we do not have enough product anyways.
Yeah. So anyways, The one thing that going back a couple questions here, but the one thing I am watching, so I read an article today from my buddies down at Marketplace Commodities, and they just talk about truck traffic. Nobody's moving anything south. No, nothing's coming north. And so he said, like, there's no tariff being collected because nothing is moving, right? So you have that truck traffic that's stopped, and it doesn't seem like much now, but it adds up over days and weeks and, heaven forbid, months. So what I'm watching, like, you remember a couple of years ago when all the canola oil tanks were full and people were couldn't deliver their canola contracts. Everything was kind of backed up. It was rail movement was poor, and the cars were all full sitting on the track. The tanks were all full. And if you're listening to this, folks, I'm not here to say that this is what's going to happen. I'm just saying that is what I'm listening for now from our crushers and our industry. Like, where is, because the oil, it has to move. We don't have so much storage. So to me, that is the next thing that could be negative is if we see that. But I haven't heard anything about it yet. You might be more dialed in than I am with some of these folks. But I haven't heard anything like that yet. That's what I'm watching for, though.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that, because I remember this very well too. And then all of a sudden, this storage problem was no longer relevant. It was, no, we have lots of room. We have lots of space, lots of cars, lots of everything. Well, I mean, like you said, it's a jar, and eventually the jar fills up. So duration, not tariffs, but duration.
I heard wheat basis levels were making a pretty good move, a pretty good gain across the prairies. I don't know if you have any wheat left to sell, but do you notice anything on wheat basis getting better, or pretty quiet?
No, actually, yeah, wheat basis has improved, and I mean, we've especially seen where the futures were maybe going down, and as that Canadian dollar kind of trickled down as well, we saw that basis improved, and it's kept our prices relatively stable right now. I think the export is still there, and I mean, our local elevators are getting it in and shipping it out as fast as they can. So it's a really positive sign so far. I mean, I'd obviously like the futures to do a little more heavy lifting for us, because basis right now is strong, and they want to move it fast. Yeah.
No, that's, good stuff. All right, dude. Well, I appreciate your time tonight. Thanks for having a drink with me as we hashed out some of the impacts of tariffs here in the early days. And thanks for being candid, and appreciate you coming on.
Well, thanks so much for the invite, and take care out west.
You're a reoccurring guest on the What the Futures podcast. Nathan Kuhn, everybody, Unity, Saskatchewan, Reward, Saskatchewan, like right in the middle of the two, basically, somewhere in there. But thanks for coming on, man. And I'm sure I'll catch you one day before seeding.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, that was absolutely fantastic with Nathan. I always enjoy the honest, candid conversation with Nathan and with all of our guests here at What the Futures. It's not a widely scripted show, and it's nice to let things kind of flow in these interesting times. So I want to talk a little bit here about crop marketing. Covered it already with Nathan a little bit, but crop marketing, what people think crop marketing is selling grain. What was crop marketing? Well, it's selling grain. When in reality, crop marketing is actually understanding your costs, setting targets and sticking to them, managing risk with your grain contracts, asking questions and seeking advice, learning about market trends and timing, taking emotions out of decisions, reviewing your strategy regularly, celebrating small wins, staying patient when the market shifts, going to put that one in bold for you, protecting your farm's financial future, building confidence with every decision, and remembering you can't go broke when you're selling at a profit. Crop marketing right now, the one thought that, creeps into many minds is, I didn't do enough. Didn't do enough last month. I didn't do enough last week, or didn't do enough in the last rally. And I get it. I understand that creeps in. Now, it's important, though, for you to just remember that these markets, even in turbulent times like we're seeing, they don't go down forever. And I don't want you to just put in your mind that, hey, when the price gets back to X, whatever that number was, $8.75 for wheat or $15 for canola, when it gets back to X, I'm going to sell. Don't do that. It's okay to acknowledge that markets go up and down and that there's going to be a rally of some sort driven by some type of reason, some type of technical signal. There'll be something. Don't put that in your mind, though, on that set number. You got to erase your mind a little bit and treat this next section as brand spanking new. Maybe it gets back to some of those old levels, but don't use those as your guidelines. In a market recovery, it could be a false recovery. It could be a week of rallying for whatever reason, and then going down and making some new lows, going down and making, fresh contract lows. That has happened before. It could happen again. Identifying what the market is doing and making your decision based on what is happening in front of you. If that makes sense, you're following along. I hear it. I've heard it. Oh, my whole career. Oh man, Ryan, I didn't sell it at $9, but when it gets back there, I'm going to do it. And then it does get back there. You think they sell at $9? Usually they don't. Usually you don't. So treat the next rally, whatever it is, as its own thing. And if it's going to give you a week of upside and you need to generate cash and you got to get the work done, you're going to sell the stuff. Don't just sit here and say, well, I know I got to do some of this. I know I need money, but I'm waiting for $8.75. All right. I know it's hard to do, but it's what you have to do. Start fresh. Don't look at old numbers and say, when it gets there, I'm going to do something. There's always opportunity, folks. There's always opportunity. It's not always about crop marketing. I've been hyper aware of fuel and what diesel prices are doing. As I'm recording, we're under 93 cents a liter on, well, we'd call it what, a super B load? I don't know how many liters that is, but a big order, right? A bulk order. We have offers creeping around $1 for fall. Keeping an eye on making a good buying decision. That's what I'm looking at there. Because did I sell enough in the rally? Well, if you believe that the market's never going to get back to where we were, then the answer is no, I didn't sell enough. But, we did something. But I can't focus on the what if, or I can't focus on turning back the clock. What I can focus on is the next good decision. All right. So, from a crop marketing perspective, what's on my mind here this week? Again, I said it before, just trying to park some of the emotions here, park the phone a little bit with these tariffs. When some of this news hits, it's harsh days. But as I said earlier, in 2025, it wouldn't bother me at all if you just put that phone in the drawer and looked at it a week later to see what markets were doing, because they are showing us something here, with as big of and me and Nathan talked about it, but as big as the news has been, things aren't that bad right now. We should have been limit down in canola if it was going to be that bad. And it still could get that bad, but hasn't been that bad yet. All right. So just patience here as you work through it. You have an entire growing season ahead of you. And one of the things that I learned, it was an expensive education, but until the crop is made, growing the crop is and will always be, it is the driving force on what prices are going to do. Even when you think everything is so bearish and prices are so bad, all of a sudden, someone somewhere doesn't grow the crop or doesn't grow the crop they thought they could. This thing turns around in a hurry. And I learned that lesson a few times when all was lost. The prices were never going to recover. And then all of a sudden, production was in question and prices recovered. You got to grow this stuff. You got to grow a bunch of it. And if you don't, prices are going to recover. That's what happens. So don't forget that. We have an entire growing season ahead of us. And I'm going to leave it at that for what's on my mind in crop marketing. All right. Positive moments of the week. I got a couple here. I've got my E I've got my Eva hat on for recording on March 5th. March 3rd was Eva's 6th birthday. And this hat is it's from the Edmonton Prospects, which is a baseball team that is not around anymore. They have a different name, different town, and all that stuff. But I celebrated my first Father's Day at an Edmonton Prospects game, and it was a day where it was a tough day because Eva was born March 3rd, passed away, and my wife had bought me tickets for this baseball game. And so when I saw this hat at the game, I had to buy it instantly. I thought it was definitely a sign for me. And so my E hat, I have a fresh one. This one's got sweat on it. I do have a fresh one wrapped in plastic that will not be taken out at all. It's in storage for safekeeping. But Eva's birthday this week, we celebrate as best we can. We spent a lot of time explaining to a 4-year-old, why Eva was not physically with us. And, I'm not going to lie, we struggle. We struggle with how to celebrate, and we struggle with what to do and how to make it special. But we did go out for dinner. We took the kids out for ice cream. We did things. We decorated the house up, and we did things for a 6-year-old as best we could. And, it's important to do that. It's important to acknowledge those that we've lost in our lives. And, I'm not saying that we did it, that we're perfect on how we do it, but we do what's right for us. And, I didn't expect to be trying to do as much explaining as we had to, but, Eva's a part of us, and having those conversations is a good thing for our family and keeps your memory alive. So for that, I'm thankful, and it certainly is a positive for this week. Other than that, I would say that the warm weather is certainly nice after a frigid February. It's nice to get out in the yard and do planning. And just like everybody else, you get a little bit of spring fever and get some excitement for the growing season ahead of us. So it was good to get those feelings again. And then my last one, it's only the first week of March, but we have 30 nights of camping booked for this summer already. So we did it last year. We did 30 nights last year, and they are on the schedule again for this year. So big camping family here in 2025 once again. So those are my positive moments for the week. So I was at the farm the other day in the parts room. When I was a kid, like we had a wall, of parts, and we had a few filters and stuff, but it was basically like a shelf on the wall. Now the farm has an entire room, and I know some of your service trucks, I know they're pretty incredible with what you guys have for supply. I've heard of service trailers, what you guys are doing out there, which is really inspiring. Oil filters, air filters, hoses, you name it, oil galore. It's incredible what you need to have on the farm, though. This time of year, heading into your John Deere dealer feels a little bit like a Costco run, stocking up before the season really kicks off. And I know it's a great time to stock up on all that good stuff so that you are not losing time during that busy spring run. Not everyone operates like this. Some farms have a full-time parts runner, aka my dad is a parts runner on a lot of days, grabbing what's needed. So where do you guys fall? Are you guys getting stocked up for the spring season? No better time than to head over to your John Deere dealership and stock the cupboards for 2025. All right, so eating your veggies here for episode 66. I got an easy one for you. If you're going to indulge this weekend in a spirit, indulge in a Canadian spirit, all right? I know I've got bourbon on the back. I've got some I got a bunch of Scotch in there as well. So I've got, it's not all American back there, but yeah, the Gibsons will get a little more love from our household here during these times. Second one for eating your veggies, I would say your 2026 plan. I know you don't want to think about it right now because you're like, Ryan, I have old crop in the bins. I'm focusing on 25. But 2026, your contracting abilities are right around the corner for both canola and your wheat markets. Do not forget that over the next 4 to 8 weeks, when you get your rallies, when you sell some 2025 crop, just think for a minute, should I be selling something in 2026? How would I do that? Who could I do that with? What is that price? You might surprise yourself at what you find. And it might be some of the highest prices you get of the year. We'll see. Time will tell. But don't forget about that. Third thing for this week for eating your veggies. Again, I talked about it multiple times on the show, but fuel, diesel prices. Diesel is on the decline. There's opportunity here. We're trading in the low 90s. I'm not saying this is the day to buy, but make your fuel partner on your farm, make them your daily phone call right now, because these charts, look at a crude oil chart, look at, I want to say New York Harbor, but it's like USLD, ULSD, something like that. Take a look at some of these charts that impact your diesel prices. They're getting towards some support here. It might be a signal any day, any week here to buy a little bit of fuel. Keep an eye on that. There's opportunity, in my opinion, right in front of us here on fuel. All right. So domestic spirits, number one, if you're indulging this weekend. Number two, focus on 3 crop years. Put 2026 in your mind right now. And then last one there, take a peek at diesel, and it might be a good buy opportunity here around the corner. So let's leave it at that for eating your veggies. All right, folks. I'm always asking you to go and share the podcast. Subscribe to YouTube, give us a like, ratings, share it with your friends and neighbors. So thank you for doing that. But for this week, I want you to turn your attention to our social media pages, Instagram, Facebook, X. We are running a soil. Oh, what did Yvonne call it? I got to look it up now. But it's an opportunity to win some What the Future's crop marketing made hot underwear. We're giving away 20 pairs of underwear. All you have to do is go and comment on our post. You can't miss it. It's the bright underwear. And basically, crop marketing, it's not always glamorous. It gets a little stressful, but let's keep you fresh with some What the Future's underwear. All right? And go check that out on social media. Comment, tag a buddy in there as well. We're going to pick 20 winners on March 31st. Let's go have some fun with that. Well, thanks again, everyone, for hanging out for episode 66 of the What the Future's podcast. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, hey, send me an email, send me a message. I'm here to respond. If you have any crop marketing stuff you want to talk about, if you want to learn more about the LunchBox crew, if you want to learn about how I work with farms here across the prairies, reach out. It's just ryan@whatthefuturespodcast.ca, or head over to the website, ryandenis.ca. 2025 is a big year for you. 2026 going to be even bigger. Thanks for tuning in. That's it for me and my Gibsons. Cheers. I'm out.